Help me reach my goal and subscribe. And hit the bell icon.
Chapter 69-56. Charlie said, "This is the first time you have left the station to fight a blitzkrieg. If the battle damage ratio can reach a height that others cannot imagine, it will not only greatly boost morale, but also greatly damage the enemy. Confidence makes the enemy fear you, which will also help you negotiate with them later. So you must command and deploy well, fight for a beautiful victory." Understood. Hamid learned about Charlie's thoughts and said respectfully, "I still think carefully, brother. Don't worry, I will go all out." Charlie hummed and said, "In addition, since they have 5 oil fields, don't just hit one, at least 3, and hit the 3 largest ones. If you want to hit them in pain. If you finish hitting 3, and they still don't accept your conditions, then knock them all out in one go, just like I said before. Lift the table up on them, don't everyone eat." Good. Hamid felt that his ambition was in his chest, and his blood was already boiling. He blurted out, "Don't worry, brother, I will perfectly realize your strategic deployment." The next day, Hamid organized 2,000 soldiers to carry out rapid sneak attacks on 3 selected oil fields. In this oil field sneak attack, Charlie's 4 fast requirements was perfectly fulfilled, knocking down 3 of the opponent's oil fields in one go. And these 3 oil fields have a daily output of nearly 20,000 barrels of crude oil. This already accounts for 1/5 of the country's current annual output. This wave of direct dry waste can be described as heavy losses. As for Hamid, apart from consuming a portion of his fuel and ammunition, the 3 small battles were one-sided crushing, with the opposition's defending soldiers being killed by 70% and captured by 30%. While Hamid's soldiers suffered only 3 minor injuries and no fatalities. This successful sortie greatly boosted the morale of Hamid's army, and everyone finally realized that they were no longer the same as those in the opposition, making them realize that if they faced the opposition in the future, they would be powerful. Moreover, Hamid also learned well. Not only did he destroy these 3 oil fields, but he also tied the core workers of these 3 oil fields to his station. When he took over the oil fields and devoted himself to mining in the future, these people would be able to directly serve yourself. The opposition's core was furious about it. Their first thought was to gather heavy troops and lay siege to Hamid. However, at the pre-war meeting, after everyone calmed down and analyzed it, they found that the siege of Hamid was of no use. The 1st Military Division analyzed. "First of all, before we could seize the country, Hamid, as our comrade, once fought a beautiful and tough battle. The government forces and cataclysmic front united to launch many attacks on his station. The rounds of attacks ended in disastrous defeats. This time, he attacked the oil fields under our control. And it was even more obvious that his soldiers were far more powerful than us. Secondly, now our soldiers on our side are very afraid of the combat effectiveness of Hamid's soldiers. And other soldiers stationed in the oil fields are even on tenterhooks for fear of being attacked by Hamid. Military morale does have a great impact. Furthermore, our weapons and equipment are mainly guerrilla equipment, with light weapons accounting for the vast majority. Although some heavy weapons have also been seized, most of them are tanks, armored vehicles, anti-aircraft missiles, and heavy artillery. Anyone here who knows a little bit about military affairs can see that none of this heavy equipment is suitable for attacking in the mountains. Tanks and armored vehicles cannot drive to Hamid Station. We heavy vehicles may not be in front of us yet. And our mobility and combat capabilities will be greatly limited due to the terrain. By then, we will only be able to become Hamid soldiers' live targets. Although those heavy artillery pieces and howitzers could be fired, the permanent fortifications built by them are not only extremely strong. Most of it's on the reverse slope. And our artillery hits can only tickle them. The key is, what we captured was all heavy equipment that the government forces had no time to destroy. And the ammunition left to us is very limited. Those howitzers are missing once they were fired. After firing, those artillery pieces become scrap metal. After firing these artillery shells, if we fight ground position battles with anyone in the future, there will be no weapons at our disposal. On the other hand, that BA-5 Tard Hamid's fortifications are so strong and the caves are dug so deep. Even if we shoot all the ammunition over, we will help him loosen the soil above his head, and not hurt his foundation at all. As for our anti-aircraft missiles, Hamid's army has no air power except a few armed helicopters. If he does not use helicopters, then our anti-aircraft missiles will be completely useless against him. What's more, our spies within his flanks have already told us about his strategic reserves. Everyone should know that even if we invest a large number of troops to completely surround his garrison, Hamid will be able to survive at least for 3 years. But the embarrassing thing is, if he can survive 3 years, we may not be able to survive 3 years. Chapter 69-57. The military advisor's words stabbed like a steel knife through the hearts of the corps members. When they were kings of the mountains, they, like Hamid, had retreated to the deep forests beyond satellite reach. Their ammunition and supplies were hidden in the cracks of the rocks. The government forces, due to the vastly different terrain, dared not rashly attack them. Now that they had seized the capital, everything had reversed. They were no longer bandits huddled in the mountains. But now the government forces, occupying the capital and holding the country in their hands. When they considered the situation between themselves and Hamid from a different perspective, they realized that defeating them was nearly impossible. And even a mere 3 years of siege would require a tremendous expenditure of manpower and resources. 3 years would bring too much uncertainty. And whether they would still hold the kingdom after that would be another matter. Therefore, everyone shared the same thought. While they still had the kingdom, they had to reap the benefits quickly. Even if they were attacked, they could still escape with plenty of money and women. They shouldn't waste their time with that idiot Hamid. So, everyone agreed not to argue with Hamid. However, they refused to stand up to him, and he insisted on pestering them. Just when everyone was dejected and decided to let Hamid go, someone suddenly rushed into the meeting room and reported. Report. Hamid sent a message. The leader asked coldly, "What did he say?" The man replied, "He said that if we don't give him the oil field he wants, his soldiers will launch an attack on oil fields across the country. In his own words, he won't make a penny from selling oil anyway. So it's better to blow them all up and let everyone starve together." FCUK. The leader was immediately furious. He pulled out his pistol and fired 3 shots at the ceiling. He cursed, "What does this BA-5 Tard mean? Is he really going to fight us to the end?" The military advisor quickly advised, "Boss, calm down first. In my opinion, all Hamid wants is a small oil field. Just give it to him if he wants it. Give it to him. The chief's eyes widened with anger, and he asked sternly. He just destroyed several of my oil fields, which brought us heavy losses. Do you know how much money we will lose every day? I gave him face by not making him pay the price. Now he wants me to give him the oil fields. Damn it. Daydreaming. The deputy chief stroked his beard and muttered. This BA-5 tard must be in high spirits now. And we can't send a large number of troops to defend the oil fields across the country. From now on, if he destroys one more, we will lose money in this business. If he destroys two, the loss will be even greater. In my opinion, it is better to give him the oil field he wants. As long as he can keep his promise, he will only need to lose one more oil field. Otherwise, I don't know how much we will lose. The military advisor nodded immediately. Yes, that's right. The chief said with a sullen face. I know that's the truth, and I can do the math. I just have a feeling in my heart. I feel uncomfortable. Why should I be controlled by him? I am the ruler of a country after all. If this kind of thing gets out, where will my face be? He gritted his teeth and continued. And this BA-5 tard is already very rich, and his base is impregnable. If we give him the oil fields, he will have more money in the future. Chapter 69-58. And his strength will become stronger and stronger. The military advisor quickly comforted him. Boss, as long as we all reach an agreement under the table and keep our distance from each other, no one outside will know the specific situation. Besides, he is very proud now. If he really gets angry and continues to attack the oil fields we control, the losses will only be greater. After reaching an agreement with him and giving him that oil field, we can still resume production in the other oil fields he destroyed, and slowly make up for the losses. But if he continues to fight like this, the scope of the losses will be beyond our control. Also, you said you're worried about him growing stronger. Honestly, we can't stop him now. Don't forget, he has a good relationship with the Cataclysmic Front. They haven't bothered us yet regarding the White Horse Island incident. I think we should go along with Hamid on this matter, and also apologize to the Cataclysmic Front. Otherwise, if both sides come against us, won't we be attacked from all sides in the future? The leader pondered for a moment, sighed, and said, Ah, you're right. Damn it. This BA-5 tard can only get away with it for now. He immediately looked up and said to the deputy leader, Contact Hamid and tell him that the oil fields he wants can be given to him. And we can make peace with him. But the prerequisite is that he absolutely cannot attack other oil fields. From now on, we must keep our distance, and no one is allowed to target each other. The deputy leader immediately said, Okay, I'll call Hamid right now. He then took out his satellite phone and called Hamid. In the past, when they were all comrades, they used satellite phones to communicate with each other. Now, although they had become enemies, their contact information is still there. The call soon reached Hamid. Hamid was sitting in his fortifications, cross-legged, waiting for the call. He knew that if he put his words out there, the other party would definitely agree. Even an elementary school student could figure this out. Only a fool would fight him to the death. Besides, he wasn't afraid of their fight. Brother Wade had already analyzed the situation for him. If he hurt them this time, they would definitely be scared. When the call came, a victorious smile immediately appeared on his face. He picked up the phone and said calmly, "Hello, who is this?" The other party immediately said, "It's me, Abdullah." Hamid sneered, "It's you, kid. To be honest, I've known you for so long. And I didn't expect you to be so unkind." The other party quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, Hamid, you know the situation is different now. And you've been refusing to reorganize. We have our concerns too." Hamid asked sternly, "We are brothers who fought together in the same trenches. Even if you are a little worried, you can't think of killing me, right? And I was with my 2 pregnant wives. Were you fucking trying to wipe out my entire family?" The other party said helplessly, "Hey, Hamid, there are some things I don't need to say, you understand. Everyone has their own difficulties. What we did was indeed wrong, and we won't quibble on this point. Besides, you attacked our 3 oil fields, which was also a relief. If you ask me, let's shake hands and make peace. We will give you the oil fields you want. And we will attack you, and the matter of you destroying our oil fields will be written off. What do you think?" Hamid was delighted and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. My brother Wade is still as predictable. This was the result he wanted. However, the more he interacted with Charlie, the more cunning he became. Since the other party agreed so readily, he had to take the opportunity to blackmail him. Thinking of this, he said, "You must give me the oil fields. Besides, I attacked 3 of your oil fields and injured 3 of my men. You should at least show some appreciation. Or I won't be able to explain to my men." The other party was absolutely furious. He couldn't stop wondering. He attacked 3 oil fields and killed hundreds of their soldiers. And only injured 3 of his people. And now he acts like he has suffered a great loss, and is asking them for compensation. Nobody can be as shameless as this man. Can anybody? Impossible. Chapter 69-59. The core members of the opposition are furious. But they could also tell that Hamid was simply showing off his prowess. However, he had just demonstrated his army's combat effectiveness, which was indeed far superior to theirs. Hamid's demand for them to pay was not merely extortion, but also humiliation. It was like the great powers of the 19th century, invading a country and then demanding war reparations. The core members of the opposition had risen to power through rebellion. In the past, their humble origins and lack of sophistication would have naturally made them unbearable, fighting him to the bitter end, even at the cost of their lives. But now the situation is different. They held the country in their hands. If they continued to fight like hell, they would lose it in less than 2 years. So, the leader took the phone and said, "Hamid, let's stop guessing. Just tell me how much you want." Hamid thought for a moment, realizing that the other party had agreed to such humiliating compensation, which was another step forward for him. However, he had to be careful about how much he asked for in compensation. If he asked for too much, it might anger them again. If he could negotiate a reasonable price, he would have to consider it for a moment. "You killed 3 of my brothers. Give me $3 million in cash, and we'll write it off." $3 million for 3 of his men. In US dollars, there was an offer that infuriated the opposition leader. But then he heard that $3 million was enough to write it off. And it suddenly seemed like a great deal. $3 million was nothing to him. While many people in Damascus were still hungry, they controlled the economy. So $3 million was just a drop in the bucket. He asked Hamid, "If I give you $3 million, will this really be over? Will you never attack our oil fields, our strongholds, or our troops again?" Hamid smiled and said, "Of course, I'm different from you. First, I'm a very contractual person. Second, I don't have such big ambitions. I don't want your territory. I just want to manage my own well and protect it from danger. So, as long as you keep your promise, we'll keep our distance." "Okay," the opposition leader said decisively. $3 million is $3 million. I'll have someone prepare the cash and send it to you immediately. A few hours later, an old American Humvee, stirring up dust several meters high, arrived outside Hamid's base. The vehicle stopped at the entrance to Hamid's base. Two soldiers got out of the back seat. Each was carrying a large army green canvas bag filled with cash for Hamid. Hamid didn't show up, but instead, he sent several of his men to the mountain pass to take over the money. After receiving the money, his men thoroughly searched the bags containing it to ensure they contained no bombs or eavesdropping devices before bringing it back to base. Inside the base, Hamid, following Charlie's advice, was holding a commendation meeting. This time, he wanted to honor the elite soldiers who had performed outstandingly during the attack on the oil fields, including the 3 soldiers who had been heroically wounded. Previously, Hamid's army had been largely composed of disorganized troops, with disorganized and lax management, unclear organizational structures, and a poorly defined career path for both soldiers and officers. Several leadership appointments and dismissals were made solely by Hamid, based on his personal preferences, lacking sufficient credibility. Chapter 69-60. This time, he decided to follow Charlie's instructions and seize the opportunity to promote a military merit system. Within the army, those who achieved meritorious service would receive medals, and those who were awarded medals would receive promotions, and those who received official positions would become wealthy. In Charlie's view, managing an army cannot be driven solely by profit. More money is used to reward officers and soldiers. The more they tend to become mercenaries deep down. Mercenaries always put personal interests first in battle, and will never have any spirit of sacrifice or dedication. To foster a spirit of dedication in his officers and soldiers, they must be given a strong sense of honor. Therefore, Hamid, emulating the military structures of major powers, planned to implement a merit system within the army. Every officer promoted in the future would be required to have a clear and convincing record of military service. This would not only convince officers and strengthen their resolve, but also encourage them to strive for meritorious service. The soldiers and officers who received medals not only received cash, but also the Order of Victory, modeled after the Iranian military and considered by Hamid to be the highest honor. 3 wounded soldiers received the Medal of Courage, a lower-level award. Each received a $50,000 bonus, a promotion in rank and a corresponding increase in monthly salary. This initiative taught soldiers that, even if they didn't play a decisive role in a battle, simply displaying courage could earn them recognition and appreciation from higher-ups. Recognition meant more than just verbal praise. It offered tangible benefits, making his soldiers eager for the next war. Even ordinary soldiers hoped to be at the forefront next time, hoping to earn their commander's recognition and reward, even if injured. Morale was thus boosted to its peak. Immediately afterwards, Hamid selected an officer who had performed meritorious service and announced the formation of a new unit, the Oilfield Guard. The Oilfield Guard consisted of 300 soldiers, composed of 5 reinforced platoons, each with a full strength of 50 men, and a transport platoon, also 50 men. The 5 reinforced platoons were responsible for guarding the entire oil field and would immediately be stationed at Hamid's newly acquired oil field. The transport platoon would be responsible for the armed escort of the oil produced, based on a daily production of approximately 5,000 barrels. This would amount to at least 700 tons of crude oil. Even heavy-duty tankers would need to fill at least 30 or 40 tankers, requiring a medium-sized fleet of vehicles to transport the oil non-stop every day. Hamid established the transport platoon specifically to provide armed escort for this oil, ensuring a steady flow of it to the cataclysmic front base. The problem now is that the cataclysmic front can't build its own refinery anytime soon. Designing and constructing it to produce 1 million tons per year would require an investment of at least hundreds of millions of dollars and take at least 2 years. Until then, the oil fields are producing daily. But how to sell it becomes a thorny issue. Hamid is just a minor warlord, lacking the skills to engage in global trade. If he wants to cash in on the oil, his only options are to sell it to small local refineries at rock-bottom prices, or to smuggle it to Turkish traders. Local refineries have limited capacity and offer low prices, leaving little profit margin, while smuggling it to Turkey would yield a slightly higher price than selling it to small refineries. It would also carry the risks and costs of smuggling. Syria is a relatively easy target, as the opposition's operations are already haphazard, with border control and customs virtually non-existent. However, Turkey is a medium-sized country, and its border control and customs authorities will certainly not allow Syrian black oil to enter easily. Fortunately, Charlie had his own ISU shipping, offering Hamid a third option: shipping the crude oil to the Cataclysmic Front's headquarters. The Cataclysmic Front's headquarters was located on the seashore. It had its own simple dock, which was constantly being upgraded. From there, the crude oil could be transported to ISU shipping's tankers, which would then be transported back to China. Once the refinery was operational, the heavy oil could be transported directly from ISU shipping to a nearby shipping line, where it could be refueled for ISU shipping's cargo ships. Given the size of ISU shipping's fleet, this limited production capacity wouldn't even cover the fleet's annual heavy oil consumption. So by then, all crude oil could be produced and sold domestically.